All right, you guys, today we're going to use some clay. What is clay again? Fancy dirt. That's all it is. It's dirt. It's from the ground. And it's just kind of more plasticky than regular mud. So what we're going to be doing is using this clay to make a coil, which is something kind of like our fingers or a worm or a snake. I'm sure you've made them before. And we're going to make that coil into a snail. Not a real snail, of course, but something that might look like a sculpture of a snail. So here we go. I'm giving everybody a lump of clay, something like this. You're going to take that lump of clay and you're going to break it in half. So now you have, dun, 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 2 pieces of clay. Put one off to the side. You only need one for this first part. I'm going to take this lump of clay and I am going to squish it in my hands, kind of like this. I'm using the palms of my hands and I'm squishing this clay together. Ugh. I might make it look easy because I've been doing this a lot. Don't worry if this is hard for you. Use your table if you need to. Kind of give it a squish. I'm not trying to make it flat. I'm trying to make it into a ball. Maybe I'm going to roll it in my hands. Maybe I'm going to roll it on the table. Whatever works for you. Now, it's kind of a ball shape. What I want to start to do now is start to make it more like a snake, but I don't want it to get too thin. I actually want this to be kind of thick, almost as thick as my thumb. Look at your thumbs right now. Look at how thick they are. That's about as big as you want this to be. We don't want our sculpture to be so skinny that it falls apart. So I'm going to take this now and I'm just going to give it a little bit of a squish. So I'm making it more elongated. So like a rectangle. Here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and start rolling this onto the table, onto the fabric that I gave you, so it doesn't get stuck to the table. And I'm rolling my hands back and forth. I'm using just one hand, and I'm even standing up for this part. And I'm looking at it, and I think that's thick enough. What do you think? It's about as thick as my thumb. It's pretty long. I'm going to use this to coil it up to make a spiral with the clay for the shell of the snail. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to give it a little pinch. Now I'm noticing, uh-oh, can you see that? I have some cracks in my clay. That's going to happen. I'm going to take one dip of water and smooth out those cracks. And I know that the rest of my clay is thirsty for water, so I'm going to give it a little bit more water all the way around. Not a lot. If I give it too much, it actually might start to fall apart and be really difficult to use. So just a little bit of clay. Now it should work better. Now I'm going to take and I'm just going to keep rolling. I'm going slowly because I don't want my clay to crack or break. And it's kind of tricky. Remember, this might be the first time you're doing something like this. Give yourself a break. There we go. Now, I'm going to leave it like that. This is the shell for my snail. Move it off to the side. Remember that other piece that we had in the beginning? This is going to be for the actual snail part. So I'm going to do the same things. I'm going to take it, squish it into a ball, roll it, and now I get to make a coil. Here we go. I want it to be about the same thickness of my other coil. Now, uh-oh, I'm noticing that it's going floppy, floppy, floppy. That's okay. What's going to happen? See how it's a little bit skinnier here than it is here? It's kind of wide, and look at that wrinkle there. That happens. I'm going to take my fingers. Oh, look at that. I'm going to take my fingers, and I'm going to smush it just a little bit more. It's being a little difficult. And then I'm going to try rolling it again. That happens. No big deal. If it keeps happening, just squish it down on the tall side. All right, now, this is about the same thickness, but it's really long. Don't worry, I don't need to use the whole thing. I only need to use part of it. So here we go. I'm going to take my shell, and I'm going to take my toothbrush. I'm going to find the part that I want for the snail. Maybe this will be the end of the snail, and over here will be the beginning of the snail. I'm going to rub the brush on there, score and slip. I'm going to take the shell. I'm going to score and slip. And I'm going to get those two parts to squish together. I'm taking my fingers and I'm actually squishing them together. Now, this is too long. I don't want the snail to be that big. So wherever I want the snail to end, I'm just going to go ahead boop, and cut it off. That's extra. I don't need that right now. I want to make a head of a snail. So I'm going to take this part and just bring it in just a little bit more. Get some water if you need it. There's my snail so far. What do you think? This guy stands up or lays down flat. We're going to use or give it to Mrs. Nugent, and I'll do this for you. I'm going to take a straw, and I'm going to stick it through this part here, because what we'll do later, after you get it back, we'll put a pipe cleaner through here for their little, I don't know what they're called, their little feelers that come up, okay? Give this to Mrs. Nugent when you're all done. If you have extra clay, you can give it to Mrs. Nugent as well. I'm going to put your initials on the bottom. So I have a C and an N for my name. And I'm going to put a dot on it as well, so that I know which class it belongs to. Okay? There you go. Next time you see this, this will have been fired, dried out first, of course, then fired, which is where I put it in that kiln. And we'll be putting some color on this. All right, stay tuned.